This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It's Sunday night. It's extra time. It's the last word on the weekend's action. FA Cup exit. We're going to use this as a little bit of therapy tonight, I think, to be honest. We have so many people wanting to phone in to be on the show tonight that we're going to be doing it in 2 takes. And if any of you guys that are in the chat want to come on and have a bit of therapy and say your piece, just ask and we'll put the link in the description in the chat if you want to jump on. But we've got a great show. Before I get started, I do want to say, of course, a massive big thank you again to Creation Wolf, the local branding company, for powering extra time, who deliver the latest and most advanced digital solutions, taking your brand, if you've got a company, online presence and digital capabilities to the next level. You can find them at creationwolf.com. The link is in the description below. Right. We have got a star-studded lineup tonight. We really have. It's absolutely bang on. We need a bit of therapy, so we've called on the doctor. Dr. Paul Mansell works at Staffordshire University in which department, Paul?
Yeah, sports psychology I'm in.
Sports psychologist. We need a bit of that tonight, mate. How are you? It's been a little while, obviously, since you've been on the show, but you're often on the away game, instant reactions as we go to the matches with you.
Yeah, partners in crime, aren't we, for away days? Yeah. I mean, yesterday it took a lot out of me, the emotions of the game, the up and the down, and then, but I'm okay today. I know a lot of people still struggling, but yeah, I think I'm ready to move on to the Aston Villa game.
Ready to move on. The heartbreak, the breakup, you put it behind you, ready to move on. Well, we're going to get stuck into that because I'm sure there's some insights that you can give us. We've also got Lucas that's joining us this evening. Lucas, welcome back to the show. And I do believe that you were a ball boy at the game yesterday.
Yeah, you're correct, Dave, and thanks for having me back on the show.
Absolutely fantastic. So you would get a bird's eye, well, a real close-up view of the action and the going on, which would be absolutely fantastic. We have also got finally back, kind of recovered, looking very dapper tonight. We have Maddie. Look at that.
Yeah. What a great weekend. What a wonderful weekend.
Mate, you're looking, as I said before, you're looking sharp. You've got all grey on. You've got the grey beard, the grey turban, the grey Wolves training top.
Yeah, I've gone all grey. Yeah, it was a bit of a grey ending yesterday, but yeah, lift people.
We're losing Manny.
Are you losing
there,
me?
mate?
Can you hear me? I can hear
you.
you.
Back now. You're back.
Okay. It's hotel Wi-Fi, probably. Sorry about that.
You're in Oxford, aren't you? Because you've got work down in Oxford tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm there, and so I drove there a couple of hours ago. Came here for a good night's sleep rather than have a long drive in the morning. So.
Absolutely. And also part of the first half of the show tonight, we do have captivating Chelsea, the new Always Wolves hostess with the mostest for the watch along. You did one the other week. We had a massive demand for you to come back. You did one yesterday. You've done 2 games. We've lost them both.
I know.
At least you've had some goals to celebrate this time, though.
Yeah.
I think the sad news is, though, my reaction are going to be there forever. I can watch my reaction in happiness and depression.
No, you've done an absolutely fantastic job, Chelsea. We love people loving you doing the watch alongs, so obviously. So really, really grateful. And the win is coming soon for you, hopefully. So we've also got, of course, more fans in the green room that have dialed in. We've got Liam. We've got Nathan, who I saw before the game actually yesterday. We've got Sooty and potentially Craig coming on in the second half of the show. But we've got a great start and lineup today. Before we get started, let's just ask Manny, how are your feet?
Oh, they're great. You know what? The feet, 4 weeks' time, London Marathon. And, obviously with one yesterday, the semi-final weekend is also marathon weekend. So I've been thinking like all week, once we get through yesterday, which we never did, if the semi-final was on a Sunday and I was doing the marathon on a Sunday, and I would have had to broken some kind of world record to make kickoff, I think.
Man, if there's anyone that can do it, you'd probably somehow.
Man, honestly, they're better.
And we've lost Manny again. He's back again now. His internet, his hotel Wi-Fi. He'd probably be better on his. He might be better on his
hotel
on his own data.
Sorry about that.
We lost you again. I was just saying, Manny, you might be better on your own data than the hotel Wi-Fi.
I know what the hell. This is Holiday Inn Wi-Fi. Sort it out for you.
I know. Paul, let's go to you first, mate. Going into the game, I think all of us as fans, we're very positive, but also excited, but also very nervous because we did have 4 out of our front 5 that were out. Dawson was out as well as a groom. We were hoping we were going to get Kuna back in the squad. He wasn't. We knew that it wasn't going to be a given against Coventry City. And also, psychology, mentality-wise, they've got nothing to lose for this game. They can go in, have a proper go. And if they lose, they can go over to their fans and say they've given it everything, but we've lost to a Premier League team. And that's a dangerous animal as well. And they kind of played that like that, didn't they, Coventry? And, psychology-wise, how did that affect Wolves and everything? And is that kind of a fair analogy, what you've kind of said?
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said there. And that's the first thing to say, that it's such a shame that you get to the quarterfinals, you get a good draw. Everyone could agree, it's a good draw going into that game. With 4 out of 5 attackers all injured at the same time. It's unprecedented, really, isn't it? And any club in that situation would struggle with that situation, for sure. One thing I wanted to address, really, is I've seen it bandied around on social media over the last 24 hours, this idea about bottle jobs.
No chance.
I don't like that at all. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's true. If you say that to somebody, it implies a bit of like cowardice. And after what these players have given this season, that's the last thing that comes to mind for me. So that's the one thing I wanted to kind of strongly kind of disagree with. Yes, we had a great opportunity with 3 minutes to go. It was under our control and we didn't quite manage the game out very well. But that doesn't mean that they're cowards, or that doesn't mean that they're like failures or bottle jobs. It just means that, we've got some game management to learn, probably. And actually, over the course of the match, we can't claim that we were the better side. No chance. I saw that their XG was 4.5. 4.5, right. So if you're the home team and you're a Premier League team in a cup quarter-final and you're playing against a championship team and their XG is 4.5, then something's not quite gone right there, has it? So, yeah, obviously issues to address, but bottle jobs, absolutely not.
Lucas, you were right in the thick of the action. Obviously, getting the balls back and, right on the touchline. You probably had a first very, very close insight on the players. I mean, from your point of view, do you think they bottled it?
I don't think the bottled it, no. I just think Coventry were more clinical in front of goal. I think Ellis Sims took his chances well. And that's something Wolves don't have at the club at the minute. A player that can get any shot. I know he had the first one, the first chance, Ellis Sims, and he put it wide. But after that, he made up for them and put 2 away and got an assist. But that's a player Wolves do need if we want to be competing at the highest level.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chelsea, obviously, I've watched the emotions that you went through. I mean, you were there for the world, raw emotions of watching it, doing the watch along with a load of other people. I mean, your watch alongs had like nearly 5,000 people watch that. I mean, your emotions and from you watching, I know you weren't at the game, but you were watching it on the TV and reaction to it. What's your assessment?
Watching it and like using the app as well, I was trying to like look at server score, look at how they play. Sometimes I feel like stats don't give a reflection of how they're trying. And I agree with Paul, an element of just because these stats don't go in their way doesn't mean they bottled it. But when I was watching the first half, it really felt that Coventry had nothing to lose, but they were a lot more clinical. They had more shots on target. They had more shots in general. By the end of the game, they had 24 shots, 12 on target. We had 5 on target. Overall, I think we were lucky to be 2-1. I don't think we deserve to be ahead. I think Coventry outclassed us overall, and I think they did well in the midfield. Then, in the last 97 minutes, I agree that the game management wasn't there. But as much as I don't want to say it's an excuse of missing players, our forward line was absolutely devastating. Like, there wasn't enough moving forward. There wasn't enough creativity. There was no one else to fall back on. And the fact that we went down. But if you look at even Chelsea today, they nearly went out of the game and they scored 2 goals. And I think for us, I think a lot of us came into the Coventry game believing we've got through West Brom, we've got through our bogey team. This is an opportunity for us to win and get to the semi-final. And I don't know if the players already felt that they were there, and we did. But watching the game, I was very surprised we got 2-1. And at the end, I think it was a fair result. I think Coventry overall did play better than us, and they handled those stressful situations slightly better. Now, we can look at situations of, yes, if we had our players, should we have won? Absolutely. But we are a Premier League side, and sadly for us, we don't have 2 squads to pull out to keep us going. I think we are just depleted in energy. Lack of energy, not enough players to try and fight on the Premier League and do the cups. And I think we just ran out of time. I think the players ran out of steam. And sadly, it was against Coventry. But yeah, I don't think they're bottle jobs. I just think they are mentally and physically done.
Well said.
Think, you know what? I'll disagree. I've got to disagree now because
go on.
I don't think they're mentally or physically done at all. I think the players, if you think about it, when Neto was out, we didn't drop. We did okay. When Hwanga's out in the Asian Cup, we didn't drop. We did okay. When Cunha got injured, we won 4 out of 5 games with him injured. Now we've had Cunha, Neto, Hwang, and Bellegarde. Take Haaland, Alvarez, Foden, and Grealish out of Man City and see how they do.
Yeah.
Take Salah, Diaz, Jota, and another forward. The first 4 Liverpool forwards out. Take Martinelli, Saka, Havertz. Take those 4 players out. You can't have 4 first choice forwards out. So we had Fraser up, and Fraser looked lost, didn't he? He's not really ready for that level of performance. So it wasn't like we didn't have a second team. The players we'd throw on, the likes of Bellegarde, weren't available either. So even the players...
That's the point. We don't have enough players forward. But, I completely agree with you. If we had a Cunha or Pedro or Neto on the pitch, I do believe we would have had a stronger opportunity. I do. But
no team.
I think there are stress
Chelsea,
injuries.
No team has 6. No team has 6 forwards. You only have like 3 or 4 frontline forwards. Like I said, even Man City, if you take their first 4 forwards out, they're now going to be throwing academy children on the pitch. If you take Liverpool's first 4 forwards out, they will throw academy players on the pitch. So that's quite. When we had one, like I said, when Neto was out on his own, or Hwang was out on his own, or Cunha was out on his own, then we coped. We coped really well. We didn't miss any of them. Now we were missing all 3. Coventry was always going to be a tight game. So I went in there thinking this is going to be a really, really tight game. 1 goal in it, maximum. You know, let's face it, all the teams we've played, the ones we think of as lesser teams, Burnley, Forest, you know, Sheffield United, you know, the likes of Huddersfield, before, we never, ever steamroller those sides. Now, Coventry arguably played better football than those teams, played better football than Burnley played against us, played better football than Forest played against us, played much better football than Sheffield United played against us. So full credit for them. They actually passed the ball around. And I don't think our players weren't trying or thinking like we're going to get, you know, just going through the motions. They were actually busting a goal. Mario Lemina covered so much ground, just nothing came off for him. He kept misplacing his passes or not finding the player, but it wasn't down to no effort being shown from him. You know, Reinaut Nouri just ran every blade of grass. Joe Gomez also tried, but he just didn't come off for him. You know, and they just had below par performances. And if we, you know, against a championship club, if we're like 7 or 8 out of 10, we win. The fact is, Coventry were like 9 out of 10, and we played, you know, 5s and 6s or 4s. And if that happens, then you can come a cropper, you know. But having said that, once you get 2-1, even though it's undeserved, even though they should have been out of sight, once you're 2-1 up, and remember, for 9 minutes, we managed the game. We scored in the 88th. They scored in the 97th. So for 9 minutes, we have managed the game. Now, previously, football was 92 minutes, 93 minutes, maximum maybe 95 minutes. We got up to 97 and we still got 3 minutes left. Now football's changed. So you've got to be switched on for every, like I said in the tweet, every 10th of every second until that last kick. You've got to be switched on. When those crosses were coming in late, you know, everyone's got to be so switched on. And it was just, you know, we concede a lot of goals, don't we, recently? We don't keep many clean sheets, and that's been a problem for us as well. We do concede goals, and you know, fair play to them. Fair play to them. What a performance. I mean, they, you know, if there was going to be one shock, this was probably the one on the cards, Coventry at Wolves. If Coventry could have picked a side to play out of that, you know, apart from Leicester, all the other sides, they probably would have picked away at Wolves, and they turned up. They played better. They played fantastic football. They actually missed a hatful of chances. They were clinical. They would have been 2 or 3-0 up in the first half. They were, you know, they missed a couple of real sitters, you know, in that first half. So 0-0 was a good half for us. And 2-1 at the end of the game, you know, when you're thinking into injury time, was get out of jail. And but you know, fair play to them. They never gave up. They went to that last minute. They kept, you know, going, and they did the business. And that's what the FA Cup is, isn't it? FA Cup is
every single tie this weekend. I watched the Liverpool Man United game. I mean, that was topsy turvy, last minute goals. Chelsea scored 2 goals in added time as well after Leicester came back. The only one that was a bit of a parade was, of course, Man City. Now, I think everyone here on the panel pretty much agrees. I don't think it's they weren't up for it. I don't think they didn't give 150%, because, you know, I was there at Brentford away when we're down to 10 men after 9 minutes, 1-0 down, and they dug in and got results. We were there, obviously, for the West Brom game, and West Brom started very, very similar to Coventry. You know, get at us. They've got nothing to lose. Let's go, have a go. You know, if we lose, it doesn't matter, because, you know, Wolves have got everything to lose. But we had Pedro Neto and players like that on the pitch to just have that quality to finish them. And Cunha against Brighton, we scored early, and then we hung on for 93 minutes, and literally, you know, they gave everything in that game. but we had defenders in defensive positions. We had midfielders in their normal roles. I think Gary O'Neill made an interesting point that the change of formation and what he did helped us, but also cost us because we were so naive in defending. And the one thing is Coventry, you can't say don't deserve it. I think every Wolves fan will say they deserve it. They were fantastic. Their fans were brilliant. They had a proper good go. Jose Sarr was kept us in the game. Literally, people have a go at Jose Sarr and about his distribution. He literally kept us in that match to the point that we should have been 2, 3, 4 behind before we scored the first goal, which was a mistake from Coventry. And Ryan Aït-Nouri, who was moved further upfield, and I think he probably should have started further upfield at the start of the game. And Hugo Bueno or Doc should have been on behind. That's just my opinion. Scored, and then he did that run with the ball, and brilliant run. And we had 4 players going forward. We scored the goal. The second goal, the ground's gone mad. Singing K Sarah Sarah, we're going to Wembley. Well, it was K Tara Tara in the end. But when you're leading as a Premier League team at home with 2 or 3 minutes to go, we were so naive. We saw it against Manchester United earlier in the season where we fought back and then got done. It was almost an identical goal from exactly the same area. And it was a sucker punch. We should never, I mean, they got the equaliser. You know, he got to the byline. The cross should have been stopped. The guy just got his head on it, flicked up. But there was 2 over on the back post. There's no one marking on the back post. It's a tap-in. He's not going to miss. And the last goal, it's just how he's on his own like that. I just don't know. And it's killed us. If it had gone into extra time, who knows what would have happened? O'Neill would probably have been able to regroup the team, get some more structure back in, and we could have gone again. And it might have gone to penalties. We might have still lost. I don't know. We didn't have a lot on the bench. We had young lads.
Did you notice, their winning goal and United's winning goal? There was a similarity in both goals. Yeah. And the similarity was in the Connor Cody, Willie Bowley days. When they defend, when someone's shooting, they go front on. They bring their body front on to the player and they put everything in the way, like a goalkeeper. They spread themselves to block the ball. Our centre-halves, Kilman and Bueno, they turned their back. Yeah. Both of them turned their back on both those goals, like instinctively just turn their back like this to try and stop it like that, not stop it like this. And that's what Cody used to do. And sometimes Cody would get a deflection and it would go in the net, but he'd put himself there to try and block the ball, like run out, like almost rush out. And our defenders don't do that. Dawson does that a little bit, but he was missing yesterday.
We missed him. And we had no defenders on the bench either.
Yeah.
And I mean, Paul, we talk about the mentality of the game. We talk about Coventry's mentality and how they went at it. Fair play to them. And, we did have a lot out. And I do strongly believe that had we had 1 or 2 of those on the pitch, I do believe that personally, I think it would have been a slightly different result, but we didn't. Fraser, for me, I think he's a young lad. He gave everything. I think we've talked about on here, but he looked out of his depths yesterday. I felt like we were playing with 10 and a half men in the first half because he just couldn't he put himself about, won the ball a bit, but he never really got into the danger area. And, it was a big occasion for him and he's going to learn a lot from it. And we do better when we're driving up the pitch. And when we got like Aït-Nouri or someone that runs with the ball at their defence, which, we started to cause problems. But the last 3 minutes, 2 or 3 what is that? How they dealt with that? What is it? Did they switch off? Was it naivety? Was it mental? Was it they were bullied by Coventry that they just kept going? For me, it's the last 2 or 3 minutes that are unforgivable that we let one in, but to let the second one in, that's that. I mean, it's like the semi-final all over again. We were so close, and we threw it away.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of it back, to be honest. But I mean, you talked about mentality. Coventry came not to take the game to extra time, but to win the game, and they did that by having the big lad Sims up front, but they also pushed their 2 wide players right on, and that split back 3, which made a lot of space for them to play in. That was my view. So that was one of the reasons I think that contributed to them creating more chances. The other reason is because we had no pace in attack at all. They could play higher up the pitch, because if the ball did go in behind, then it's not really a problem for them, because we haven't got the legs and the pace to get in behind with the players that we had on the pitch yesterday. Maybe that changed when Nate Nuri was higher up. So that kind of really helped them yesterday. And that was my view anyway, from sitting quite high up in the Billy Wright stand. Sometimes you can see the shape a bit better on the side of the pitch, because I do sit in the North Bank as well often. You get a different view there. But those were the two kind of tactical things for me that contributed to that result yesterday.
Fantastic. And Lucas, what, from your position, what did, where did you think it went wrong? I mean, what can you take any positives out of that game from your point of view? You probably, I don't know how close you are to the players. Do you go back in the tunnel? Do you see how the reactions, how they were feeling? I mean, can you give us some insight on that?
I didn't see no reactions. I just heard of some of the of Gary's press conference, and he was saying the players felt hurt and disappointed that they let the fans down. But I do think from my point of view, it just looked like the players heard the fans singing "We're going to Wembley," so they wanted to drop off a bit, but then they saw Coventry on the break, so they had to try get back. But Coventry had more wide players coming on with more pace than Wolves had, because we didn't have enough defensive substitutions to bring on. But it was just, I think, just lack of urgency that Wolves had.
Lack of urgency. And Chelsea, your take on those sort of the end of the game, because Coventry were really good. I was sitting in the stand, and if anyone's watched my vlog and watched the emotions going through that, try and capture it. I was wondering where we were going to get a goal from, to be honest. I'm just thinking, I don't know where we're going to get a goal from. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's a cross come in. It's a mistake. Nuri scores. It's a good finish. He volleys it in, bang. And then all of a sudden, we're like, bang, we're moving the ball. We're like, we go for the juggler. We have a patch where we're in control. It's sort of like, I feel like if it was a boxing match, that they were jabbing away with us and throwing punches and catching us all the time, and we were hardly really putting a punch on them. And then it's the 11th round of a boxing match, and all of a sudden we've swung one, we've caught them, they've staggered, and then we've gone in for the kill, caught them again. The bell goes for the 12th round, and then they come out for the 12th round, and then kind of we've sort of punched out, and then they catch us, and then they just knock us out right at the end with that final, 15 seconds before the bell. I mean, how were you? What are your thoughts on that? The end of that game?
When I was watching the last half, I think, like many of us, I think definitely as Wolves fans, we're thinking of where were these goals going to come from, and I do think we're fortunate for the first goal, and Nuri took it very well. And then when we scored the first goal, I did feel the momentum switch, and then we had a really good pass to play for Weller to score. I think similar to the Manchester United game, I think for mentality, I think it's how we kind of refocus after the goal was scored. It's kind of feel like they have that elation of getting back in the game, or the elation of winning. And I think how we try to stop was an interesting, and trying to see, I don't think the players truly understood what they were doing for the last 10 minutes. Were they attacking, or were they defending, or were they trying to do both? I do agree with the boys as well that we were being stretched by Coventry's pace, and I think Coventry were going to the end. But it's been kind of a continuous reflection over the last kind of 2 months of, especially that Manchester United game, of us kind of losing those last 10 minutes. And I do think it was management of the game. And when we were having our changes come on, I felt like the team was just getting weaker. And I agree with Manny as well. Obviously, we are missing some of our main players, and that's never going to help the team, because you're so used to how the team is set up. We know how we go about our game. And I think in this case, we just didn't manage those 10 minutes well. And I know it is new, but we are starting to get more extra time, more than normal. And sadly, I feel like we just didn't have that game management. But for the third goal, it's not forgivable. It just happened so quickly. I don't think they reset themselves. And I don't think there was enough leadership by some players to try and control the game and contain it moving forward, because we should have got to extra time at least.
And then that's back to you, Manny, at the end of the game.
You know what? First of all, a real big plus was Leon Chiwomi. You know, the guy's 18.
He did well.
Never played for Wolves. Never even we wouldn't even mention him, would he, for this season? So he's in there. He's come on and he was quick. So one of his attributes is he's got a bit of pace, and you could see that. And I think Wolves, the way we're set up, the way we don't play with a striker. We don't play with a number 9 striker. We play with mobile, fast, interchanging forwards. That's how we play our best football. Our best results this season have come that way. So having that big man up front, Fraser, didn't work. When Chiwomi came on, he was dropping short. He was going in behind. He was playing more like one of our fluid forwards. So it was a much more natural looking front three when he came on. So that's a really good cameo by him. So it's not just Aït-Nouri moving forward. It's Aït-Nouri also having someone like him who was really mobile and fast as well. So, you know, the guy scored, believe it or not, 3 goals for England under 17s in just 7 appearances. So he's got a bit of pedigree. And, you know, sometimes, you know, even in adversity, you find a few jewels that just come out the darkness.
There's the positive.
You do. And then, you know, and he did really well. I was really hopeful. Like, you know, when I saw him, just his touch, and even though he lost personally, he'll be sitting wherever he's sitting tonight, buzzing that he was on the pitch at Molineux with that atmosphere, and he was part of the team getting back in, and there was nothing down to him that we switched off, you know, at the end and conceded those 2 goals. He'll feel that he made a contribution coming on that dragged us back into the game, and I certainly think he did, because he went short on one of the moves, which dragged a Coventry player out, and Aït-Nouri actually found himself in that box when that mistake was made, totally free, and that's because of the movement he made. So, yeah, I think, you know, it's easy to knock Fraser, like it's because we. But then, is it fair? You know, he's a young lad. He's developing. A bit like Fabio Silva when he was thrown in when Raul gets injured. It's not really, you know, we shouldn't be lumping on Fraser. He's developing. He's not really.
I don't think anyone's knocking Fraser.
Yeah, no, just thinking like I've seen a few people saying, "Oh, he's not good enough. He's not." You know, you can't. People said he's not good enough to Cunha. People said he's not good enough to Huang. People said, and then a year later, everyone's like saying, "Oh, what great players!" You know, I think these players, especially the young ones, please give them time. You know, Fraser scored a couple of goals for us this season. His minutes per goals is okay. So, you know, this was like he hasn't started many matches. This was a big match, a very hard match. If you look at Coventry's defenders, if they look at the Wolves squad and they see Neto, Cunha, Huang, Bellegarde, and then they turn up on the day and all they're going to face is Fraser, they're thinking, yes. You know, that's amazing for them, isn't it? A massive lift for them. If we were playing Man City and the first 4 forwards are out, we would think, yes, we've got this. We've got a chance here.
Of course you would.
Yeah,
Rodri out when he's out, you know, or players like of that caliber. You're going to think, well, I'm glad they're not on the pitch. And you know, those type of players that we've got, Neto and Wang and Cunha, they scare any you know Premier League
big teams. Big teams,
and they drop back because of it. But because we didn't have that pace that we normally had, you know, we didn't carry that much of a threat. So, like I said, Fraser was doing his best. But, like, he didn't have the support around him, really, you know, and he kind of was a little bit lost. Lucas, I think you're a bit of a fan of Fraser, aren't you?
Yeah.
Do you want us to get a bit more insight on the reasons why? And can you give us an assessment on what you thought yesterday when he was on the pitch? Because you can't fault his effort, for one. But do you think he was left a little bit exposed?
The reason I like him is because he's a local lad. I know he's had the chance to play for Ireland under 21s, but he's turning it down. He's a local lad. He's come through the academies from 8. He hasn't gave it once. He's had a few big injuries, I think.
Not long ago has he come back from that as well.
Yeah, and he just kept him going. And now He's started the last 2 games. He's come on in some cup games. I think he scored against Blackpool. I think he scored somewhere else, and he hasn't gave up. And now he needs just more game time and more encouragement from the fans, and he'll understand that he's going to probably be, if Cunha, Wang, if Neto goes in the summer, and Wang probably goes soon, and Cunha gets injured again, he'll be our main striker if we do not buy anyone in the summer. So he needs to understand that as well. So if he just understands that and gets the encouragement from the fans, I think he'll be a great player.
Well said. And you know, I don't think Wang's going anywhere in the summer because they're really tapping into that South Korea market. Obviously, Neto, and I don't think he's signed a long-term contract. I know that doesn't mean
his injury issues, Dave, are going to affect a lot of it. He might not be back this season. And with his record,
Neto, you want about?
Yeah. Who's going to think? Oh, shall we spend all that money on?
Well, I think Jack said last week that we've had Neto for 5 years and he's been out injured for 2.5.
Yeah, that's true.
So we've only got him on the pitch 50% of the games.
It'd be interesting. Yeah. No,
Chelsea,
but yeah.
Go on, sorry, Manny.
Go on, Chelsea.
Chelsea, I don't think anyone was really. I mean, there are people in the thing saying he's not good enough, but he is only 18 and 19. Let's face it, Nathan Fraser would be out on loan to a League One or a Championship team at this point, which is where he needs to go for his development. There's some people that said, like, Yerson Mosquera, where's he? Chiquino, where's he? You know, why haven't we got them for injury? I mean, you know, they would just be sitting. They wouldn't be getting any main game time. Yeah, they might now because we've got an injury crisis. But like they've sent him out to get development. Chiquino went to Stoke and didn't last. He's gone where he is now. Mosquera's done really well. Hopefully these players will come back in the summer and they'll be re-looked at. But like Fraser, you know, he'll probably go on a loan next year. Hopefully we will buy I mean, I think it's a main target, isn't it? That sort of main focal point, which every team wants.
You know what?
Chelsea, go on.
Yeah. Sorry. I was going to say, just to finish on with Fraser, the problem with the Premier League is it's the fastest league in the world. There's no league. You've just seen that match today. You've seen Chelsea, you know, everybody plays at 100 miles an hour. It's like basketball. And when you haven't got that extra bit of pace up front, with Neto, Wang, Cunha, the likes of Traore, Jota, all those players had lots of explosive pace. So if you haven't got that bit of explosive pace, you're going to be found a little bit wanting. And I think for someone like Fraser, you know, that's one thing that obviously he needs to probably work at. It's not his fault because he hasn't been in that situation before. But it's a massive culture shock for any youngster to go there, and it's just 100. Even though he's playing Coventry, it doesn't matter. You know that they're raising their game. They're on the verge of the playoffs, so they're not too dissimilar to the teams that are bottom of the Premier League. And these teams are pacey, and you need that extra bit of pace, and that's where Fraser looked different to our usual three forwards because the other three, they've got such electric pace, and that's obviously glaring. You know, you can see that with him at the moment.
Well said. So yeah, I mean, we're gonna delve a little bit more into this into the second half, but let's start to round things up from the fans that we got at the moment. Chelsea, you know, thank you ever so much for doing the watch along because you did a great job, and I know if guys in the chat, if you want Chelsea to do more watch alongs, just please put a thumbs up or a yes and let us know. I can tell you that we've got over 500 people watching live right now, which is incredible. And loads more will watch it back on catch up and then listen to it on the podcast as well. So let us know where you are watching it from in the chat. And please smash a like if you're enjoying the video. And if you do want to join in the chat and join in the conversation, please just subscribe because you can then be able to put conversations. Carl saying thank you. Jeffrey, definitely. Lots of thumbs up that are coming here. There you go, Chelsea. There's your little fan group there to do some more. Chelsea, your Lee Moore Windows man of the match and your Fox at Shipley performance rating for that for the weekend.
I think for me, by the second half, I'd say Nori. One for his goal, but I feel like he did give us that kind of pace outlet, and I think he really tried to be creative for us. And I just want to mention Fraser a bit of, he's 18. We as Wolves in the Premier League shouldn't be expecting a child, and he is a child, to be leading our front line. There should be 2 strikers who can be part of that front line who he can learn from. He's missing his ability to hold up the ball, and he doesn't have the pace yet. So for him, it's no criticism of him. He's got things he needs to work on, like every footballer does. But it's the failure of Wolves of not having another striker other than Hwang to lead. To have an 18-year-old you've got to rely on is unfair. I think he did the best he could with what he had. But yeah, Nori for me, I'd say, was my man of the match because he took the goal, and I think he tried to be that creative outlet, and he still did well against Fulham as well, and I think he maintained that well.
Okay, your performance rating?
I'd give it for effort, I'd give it an 8. For actual execution of the game, based off all the stats, I'd give it a 5. Being kind, I can't forgive letting in that 3rd goal. If we'd gone to extra time, I can understand that, but that 3rd goal for me, I can't give it more than a 5 because I felt like you can have 1 lapse in judgment, but 2 at the end, I just don't think is worthy of any more than a 5. But onwards and upwards.
Fantastic. And your highlight or moment of the day, and remember, this could be anything at all. Of the it could be anything during your whole day around the match.
First highlight, I think it was when we got ahead and we got 2-1. I think my natural reaction is going to be on that. I just screamed, yes. I've never felt so elated in my life to be that close to winning. And to have that feeling once was enough. I think that was the best part of the day. I think it was just too early in the morning to have it all bubbling. I just had anxiety. So it was that one instance when we got ahead.
Fantastic. And Chelsea, fantastic. And if you want to see Chelsea's reaction, just go on the watch along and scroll towards the end when we get the second, and you'll see that. Lucas, I'm going to come on to you and then obviously on to Manny in a second. But the ball boy incident, I don't want you to get into any trouble by saying anything that you wasn't. Was that anything, Mark Robbins had a bit of a go at, I think, one of the ball boys? You probably know the person. Was that anywhere near you, or did you see anything to do with that?
I didn't hear about it until we was back in the room where we all sit, and he just said the managers, the Coventry managers abusing it, and that they made him speak to some people in the club. So it's just getting dealt with the club, so it's not my really thing to talk about. But I didn't really see anything there.
Fantastic. And are you going to be ball boying going forward, are you?
Yeah, I think so. My mum works with the person that sorts all the ball boys, and I was happy sitting next to him, and I was happy doing it as well.
That's a really great experience, mate. Well, it's great that you're having that opportunity and that experience as well. So your man of the match, performance rating and highlight or moment of the day?
I think I'd give man of the match to Aït-Nouri because he's come out of his shell this season because of not getting much game time under Luke Targi last season, and now he's showing everyone how good he actually is. I remember his debut against Crystal Palace and he scored that goal outside the box. I was thinking, we got a good player here. And now every time he scores or does something good, my mum always says, I've told you about Aït-Nouri for a long time. I think, so I'd have to give it to Aït-Nouri because he's just showing people how good he can be. I'd have to give it a 6 for the performance rating. And probably seeing you and getting your thoughts after the game when I was walking back to the room.
Oh, yeah, you and Lewis, that was good.
And touching the official FA Cup ball was something special.
That's a really great one, mate. Well done for that, man. Brilliant. You always speak so well. Manny, over to you.
Yeah,
your man of the match, mate.
Man of the match, I'm going to give it to the keeper. Just because, he's got a ricket in him and his distribution isn't the greatest. But I think Neil Cutler has improved him.
Yeah,
I can see the work they we always get in early. Everyone knows me and my boys. We're in before the bloody, the groundsmen are in usually. We're there well over an hour before the kickoff because we love watching the players come out and studying the way they train and what shape they've got, because it gives you a clue also which 2 subs he's going to make first because they train with the first 10. So, yeah, I'll give it to Jose Sarr because he did keep us in it, didn't he? He made those saves.
Yeah,
some of
them
them
blinded, didn't he, mate?
you would expect him to make, but there's some really good ones. Yeah, I'll give it him because that gave us a bit of a platform to launch a bit of a comeback. And I think actually, personally, I think his substitutions actually worked. People say they didn't work. I think they did work because it made Ait Nouri go further upfield and provided us with a bit more impetus and threw a few fresh legs on, and we nearly held on to it. Performance, I'm not, you know what, I was thinking about 5, but I'm actually going to go 4, and the reason I go with that is you cannot concede 24 chances to a championship club. If Coventry had come there and scored 3 goals from their 4 shots on target, then you just think, well, they've had one of those days.
One of them days.
Yeah, and that's what happens in the cup. But actually, they dominated us in that department. They actually completely and utterly almost embarrassed us. Man City had nowhere near that much play against us, for example. So that is really, really poor, something we've got to address. We've got good players. They are on form. It's not as though they're not on form. They've been playing well, but we cannot concede 3 goals. 4 goals against United. We're conceding too many goals. Or our problem was always scoring goals. Now we've fixed scoring goals. We fixed it. Now we can't keep a bloody clean sheet.
That's about right. That is. We couldn't score stuff here. Now we score. It's like we'll score one more.
You have to keep the odd clean sheet here or there. And we were given enough chances in that first half. Went in 0-0. So you think, here it is. Come on, lads. Now book up your ideas.
Warning signs.
And then we go and concede 3 fairly soft, fairly, innocuous type goals where you just got to be stronger. So it's a 4 for me, I'm afraid. And moment of the day, Dave, I won 2-1 because this was my weekend where we can't go to the football because we have a big event at our temple every month. And the only reason we went to this match was it was a 12:15 kickoff. Yeah. And I said to the boys, at 2:00, we got to leave. At 2 on the dot, we have to leave because we've got to be in Birmingham for 3. And at 6 minutes to 2, we were 1-0 down. Then we scored. And then bang on 2:00, we scored again. So we've made it 2-1. And we're running down the steps and out the stadium. And we're running to our car, having made it 2-1. Coventry fans are filing out. So there's Coventry fans walking away from the stadium because they think they've thrown the game away. We're running to the car. We can hear K Sarah Sarah in the background. We jump into our car. We drive off, and then that happens, and we think, "Oh my God, what has happened here?" Because we went in complete elation, and that is football for you. You saw it in today's game, where you go the highest of the high, where you're dreaming, you're booking, you're looking at hotels, you're thinking of planning your weekend, when you're gonna go, when you're gonna get back, and then suddenly it's like you never want to watch that game ever again. You don't want to watch the highlights. You don't want to see the news. You don't want to check social media. So it's my fault.
You said it's
so
your
fault. 2-1. So while I was there, we were winning 2-1. Sorry about. I haven't left. I never ever leave. Like, you know what I mean? It's just I had to be there. It was. If it was any later than 12:15, I wouldn't have gone this weekend. Yeah. So, that was. I wouldn't call it a moment of the match, but it's just the euphoria, isn't it, that you have?
That moment when you were running out to your car to go to the temple.
We actually ran. We ran all the way, full of adrenaline. We jumped in the car, and we just wanted to get out before the traffic, obviously, just to get, because it was going to be a bit of a drive. And, Satnam had it on his phone. He was watching it live in the passenger seat. And then he was like, when it went, it was just complete silence. Suddenly you could hear the pin drop in our car for the journey, So yeah, it was disappointing. It's gutting. We never, you don't get many chances, this competition. There's some really good teams. We had decent draws. There were home draws, we brought back teams back to home, Brighton and Brentford, and we did them. And if someone gave you Coventry at home for a chance of a semi-final, wow, So I think Gary O'Neill be absolutely gutted. He'll be gutted, and I think his press conference was a little bit, edgy in terms of you could tell he was hurting. And when people are hurting, then they say things that maybe they probably don't really want to say. You know what I mean? And it's just one of those things, and we just got to take it on the chin and move on. And put it right, because we can put it right, but we just need at least Acuna back, somebody like that back, a focal point, someone with experience. And I'll agree with Chelsea. Fraser's been put in there without Neto, Huang, Cunha by his side. So if you put Huang in without Neto and Cunha, Huang probably wouldn't look that great. If you put Cunha in without Neto and you know what I mean? So it's always a partnership, and good players around you make you play well. So, when Fraser's there on his own, he's looking around thinking, oh, bloody hell, everyone's injured. It's all down to me. That's a big thing to take on board. And some people said, well, don't play him yet. Well, actually, we had no choice because there had no one left, But like I said, the positive for me was when Chiwome came on. That was a good highlight for me. And hopefully he'll have good times with us in the future. So just got to move on, haven't we?
Just gotta move on. And to finish this half of the show, we're going to finish on a high and a positive. So I've been asking your first game or your favourite ever Wolves game. We'll go with you first on this one, Lucas.
I think my first game that I can remember was when I was mascot against Lighten in League One. And then
you're so young, you are. You're so young.
Yeah, Lighten in League One.
And then the best game was probably 3-2 over Man City.
3-2 at Man City. Chelsea?
My first game, I truly cannot remember. All I know is I was very young and I was crying because it was so loud and my dad took me out. So that's all I remember. That's the truth.
Fair play.
Nothing changes as a Wolves fan.
Ironically.
So basically, you left your first game crying and you were set up for life.
I'm still crying now on the lives as well. My Jordan. I'd say my favourite game had to be the 2-1 win against Man United when we got to take us to the FA Cup. That was one of my greatest experiences I've ever.
Quarter-final high to finish with a quarter-final low. Not nice. Manny?
My first game was, again, I tell people this because in our family, football wasn't a thing. My parents came from India, no such thing as football. So I played with a Sunday League team who were all full of Wolves fans, Coseley Rovers, and they took me to my first game, which was the playoff final, second leg against Aldershot. And this was the first ever year.
Is that the one where we're virtually home and host and we still managed to mess it? That's the Wolves way.
No, was it? We lost the first leg 2-0. We lost the first leg 2-0, and this was the second leg. But we were still heavy favourites because we'd beaten Aldershot 3-0 home and away. We'd steamrolled the end of the season. Bully had just signed, scored about 18 goals. That was his first season before, obviously, he went on, and we lost 1-0.
I'm thinking of.
We lost 1-0. I was in the South Bank, the old South Bank, with two of the sides closed. And obviously it was like absolute gutting because we'd lost this playoff final used to be 2 legs. So it wasn't like at Wembley or anything like that. It was home and away, and we lost it. And, everybody was so upset. But I actually came out buzzing because I'd been to my first game and it was like hairs on the neck, standing up thinking, wow, I never knew football existed. So that was my first game. And my favourite game, actually, I'm going back a few years again, was FA Cup. And I always remember this because I was working in Hereford. So we drove from Hereford to Molineux on the Wednesday night, and we played Sheffield Wednesday, who were, at the time, they were in the Premier League, really good Premier League side, had some really good players. And we played them at home in the replay of the FA Cup, and we beat them in a penalty shootout. And we were 3-0 down in the penalty shootout. 3-0 down. I was walking out by the exit, and when we scored one, and I just clapped them. I thought, at least we scored one penalty. They missed again. We scored. They missed again. We scored. 3-3. They missed again. We scored the winner 4-3. So we beat them 4-3 on penalties from being 3-0 down. And that atmosphere, even now, when I think about that, I saw people got out their wheelchairs. It was that people got out their bloody wheelchairs. What a game! That was one of the greatest games, greatest moments, in a football game.
It's a great one to. It's a great one.
Oh, I didn't leave early then, Chris. Money leaving early again.
It's a great one to bring up because there's an example of going from the depths of
the opposite
to ecstasy, and it kind of happened the weekend. We went from the depths to the heights, from the pain to the joy, and then back to the pain again. Unfortunately, at this,
it's funny, Dave. You know what? It's like you hug a stranger that you've never met before in your life because you were 2-1 up, and then you end the game and you don't even talk to your parents or your son, or you don't talk to the people who live with you.
That's absolutely brilliant. That's a good one to finish on this week. We're not doing the quiz. We've got 531 of you now watching live. It's been a great first half. Chelsea, thanks for doing the watch along. She will be back soon. Yes, Chelsea, doing another.
I'll be back for the Villa game. Yes.
That's going to be your first win, Chelsea.
Let's hope. Back for the Villa game. Lucas, thanks for coming on tonight and giving us that insight. Manny, absolutely brilliant. I'm sure we had a little clip of you in the last video from Fulham, and you came on and give a clip. I don't know if you just want to just give a little update on what you ended up raising. Obviously, from all of us, absolutely fantastic. I know you got the marathon coming up, and once you got the marathon out the way, I can get you back on the tennis court.
We've got Samosa Saturday the week after that day.
Oh, yeah, we'll be there for that as well.
Yeah, so, it's just absolutely fabulous. I don't know if you can see that there.
Drop it down a bit. Oh, yeah. There it is.
198,555. So that's a second page, which is 1,400 quid short of 200 grand. So we basically raised £55,600. Since the start of this, when we first announced this walk, which honestly is mind-boggling. It really is. And thank you everybody for just the way you shared and the way you donated and the way you joined in. I've got somebody who's willing to up that to 200 grand in one go if I get home, away, and third shirts off Tommy Doyle. So I've managed to get older Tommy Doyle, and he said he'll give me the shirt from the Coventry game. He probably wants to throw it in the bin, to be fair. So so that's brilliant. That is that we're probably going to hit 200 grand on this second link, which takes us over £250,000 for Dementia UK since 2018. So thank you everybody. You all play a part and you all do brilliant things to promote it and share it, and so many volunteers, so many people. So many people that I would be here all night trying to thank. So we keep it up and we keep going. London Marathon, 4 weeks time. Oh my God, and then
at least you ain't got to run a marathon and then run up Wembley Way. I actually, my plan was I was going to contact London Marathon and say, can I start? But instead of running the marathon course, can I run to Wembley? And then you can send my medal in the post. Well,
yeah, brilliant, mate. So they were all dreams. Turned into a nightmare, didn't it? But so thank you everybody, and keep supporting anybody that does any fundraising, whether it's local, whether it's big, whether it's the neighbour next door. Please, just give. It's the best thing you'll ever do, best investment you'll ever make, to know that somebody else is going to benefit from your generosity, and then someone's life is going to be less painful than it is at the moment. So thank you.
Fantastic. And that brings us perfectly up to the end of the first hour. Manny, Lucas, Chelsea and Paul have had to pop off because they had to put the kids to bed. Thank you for joining us on the first.
Obviously, the next three are going to be nowhere near as good as us three. That's a challenge for them. That's a challenge.
Well, we've got four coming up.
Bloody
Yeah,
hell.
we've got another 4 coming on straight after. So that let's see how they get on. But guys, absolutely fantastic. If you enjoyed the first half of the show, please smash a like. And again, thanks ever so much to Creation Wall for powering the show. All the best, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Always more.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
What an absolutely fantastic first half of the show that is. And we're starting the second half of the show right now in terms of like the 3-2 defeat to Coventry City. Just before we get on to that, I do just want to bring everyone's attention to the app SofaScore. SofaScore is an app that you can download for free. There's no registration needed. It does all of these things that you can see on the screen. If you're listening to it on the podcast, you can see that as well. SofaScore ratings, heat maps, deep dives. Chelsea used it actually on the watch along. She was getting loads of stats on there. You've even got the shot map, the shot map on there as well. Attack momentums. There's a QR code on the screen as well. It is completely free to download, as I say. Links in the description below. No registration needed. There's no paid for things or anything like that. And it's got loads of sports, loads of teams, and you can deep dive on historical data and things like that. Well, so make sure you download the app. I know a few of you have already done that. Let's get on to the second half of the show. We have joining us to represent the youth. We've got Liam. Hi, mate. How you doing? Thanks for waiting so patiently. Liam writes for us as well for the alwayswolves.co.uk website. So make sure you do check that out too. And so you write a lot of sometimes match reports, player ratings, or things learnt and stuff. So we do appreciate you doing that, Liam. How are you tonight?
I'm not bad. I'm glad I didn't write about yesterday because I would have been crying whilst writing the article. But yeah, I hope everyone's recovering. I'm not. I'm still really upset, but it is what it is.
How old are you, Liam?
I'm 17.
You've got a long time. You've got plenty more cracks at getting to.
I'm starting to learn. Yeah, starting to
us,
learn the what's it called? The harsh reality of being a Wolves fan. So
I know some of us haven't got quite as much time. I met this youngster here just before the game on the way to the match. I saw Nathan. I was like, you haven't been able to come on recently because he's been busy doing something with the lady and she got things organised. But I said to him, you're going to come on Sunday night? He was like, yeah, whatever the result. Here you are. How you feeling?
Absolutely, Dave. Representing the youth.
Representing the youth. That's it.
Yeah. Only slightly older than Liam. Yeah, I'm still croaky after that second goal. I was so excited. I mean, what a it was such a smash and grab, completely undeserved. If we'd have walked away from that game with that victory, because Coventry were sensational. I think we're all talking tonight about the weaknesses of the Wolves, but I'm sure we'll get onto it. Coventry were tremendous.
They were tremendous, and we've also got he is back. It is Tuba Wolf, charismatic Craig, who is
not there.
I'm
in the car, Dave.
Well, he's in the car. He's on the way back from band practice.
On the way back from Leicestershire, taking the band, yeah.
And how far away from home are you?
A good 45 minutes, and I'm in no better mood than I was yesterday when I did the Nathan Judah interview. So should have some fireworks tonight. The poor band have copped out just so. Let's get on with it, shall we? Come on.
Mate, I think the reason why you've got a dark screen is because you're in a very dark place emotionally tonight.
Yeah, maybe. That's my mood, Dave, let me tell you. That's my mood.
That's your mood. Well, and finally, it is checking the watch.
Is that better?
Yes, it's well off after the watershed. I know you love to hear his thoughts. He's got. Well, let's bring him on. It's Sutty. How you doing, mate?
Good evening, David.
Good evening. Good evening. Before we get started, do you just want to regale everyone that's listening who can't see what retro training wear you've got on this evening?
A dark blue, navy blue feeler top on, Dave.
Not so. There you go. If you're listening to this back on the podcast, that's what we've got. How are you today, mate?
Don't know, really, Dave. I think I've gone past disappointed, Dave.
You've gone past disappointed?
Yeah, it's way past disappointment. I just don't think. Well, Coventry had, like you say, they had nothing to lose, did they? Let's be honest. They've come there. They've had 24 shots at goal, Dave. 24 shots, and it's just not really acceptable, is it? They've caught us on a bad day. We've played basically, Dave, with 10 players because we've got nothing at all up top. And when you've got nothing at all up top, as Paul said earlier, if I'm a centre half, Dave, the one thing that really frightens the life out of me is pace. Pace, pace, and pace. There are very few centre forwards, Dave, who get on in this game without being fast at the turn of pace. If you're going to be a centre forward without pace, you have got to be so intelligent of timing your runs and almost be telepathic to the players around you, that you are going to be world class when you haven't got pace. Teddy Sheringham never had pace. Harry Kane hasn't got pace, but they just know where to be, Dave. They know how to drag players out of position. You can't teach pace, Dave. You're either quick or you ain't. And unfortunately, I think had we started with the lad that come on, don't think we'd have lost the game, Dave. I think we'd have give them something to think about where they couldn't play another 10, 15 metres up the pitch. They would have had a little bit of something to worry about. The whole game, Dave, changed when young Leon come on for Fraser. Now, it sounds like we're picking on Fraser. We're not. But this is, Dave, at the end of the day, a discussion channel where
we have to break it down and talk about
we have to. Young Fraser, at this present time, as I say, to be good in the Premier League, you've got to have pace, Dave. And I watched him. I sit up high in the North Bank, as you know, above you, and you get such an insight into it. He's miles off it, Dave. And that's not... Coventry battered us yesterday because they knew they could play so far up the pitch and they weren't going to get picked off. So I think we got tactics wrong. I personally would have started with young Bueno at fullback or even Doc at fullback. I would have pushed Norrie up a lot.
We talked about this before the game, didn't we? This is what we both said.
I would have played Norrie up really high up the pitch and given them something to really worry about. They would have had to play deeper, Dave. And I think we actually played into their hands. Our defending was poor. I've been a big advocate of Santi Bueno. He was poor. Kilman was poor. They were banging us with crosses, cross after cross. We weren't dealing with them. Sarr kept us in the game. We didn't deserve to win the game. So when I left there yesterday, I'm thinking, well, had we battered them with 24 shots and lost, I'd have been gutted. But we deserved exactly what we got. And it all comes down, Dave, as well. We got no changes on the bench. 4 fullbacks and a goalkeeper. 4 fullbacks and a goalkeeper.
And kids.
Kids. We let 2 centre forwards go. Okay. We've all criticised them. One's got bad injury again. But we cannot keep letting players go out on loan without replacements. Now, we've flogged a dead horse here for a long time. And these players, Dave, I'm not on here criticising these players. I'm certainly not going to criticise the boss because he has been absolutely outstanding, as have this squad of players. But when you keep flogging a dead horse, at some point, it's going to fail, Dave. And it's failed it's like the Grand National being so many lengths ahead. And you go over that last fence and you fall and you think, oh my God, what have we done here? This is the game where we did not want to fall and we failed dismally. And it comes down to depth now. I put in our chat page earlier, Dave, that I don't mind selling a big player, Dave. I haven't a problem with selling a big player as long as it's Neto, or Neto. Any one of them three, Dave. And you'll all be up in arms now. Why? Well, for one, I believe he's not going to play again this season, Dave. That'll take him up to over 100 games missed in 5 seasons. That's not good enough.
That's basically what Jack was saying last week, was that we've been here for 5 years and we've had it on the pitch for 2.5.
Yeah, that's not good enough, Dave. So we have done without Neto for 2.5 years out of 5. We can do without Neto. So if we get good money for Neto, which I believe somebody, don't shoot me here, but I think they'll snap someone's hand off for 50 million because he just doesn't play enough. And if he goes, Dave, and we get a good replacement for him and then get another 2 players for depth, guess what wouldn't have happened yesterday? We'd have won that game, Dave. We have no depth. Cannot play in this league and this country without depth. Luton have got more depth than us, Dave. Luton. That says it all.
Have they got the quality, though?
Well, they would have yesterday, Dave. That's for certain. I would have rather have had Luton's bench yesterday.
Well, that's a very good point, yeah.
So, yes, they have, Dave. And we were poor, but I believe we're poor because these players aren't getting a natural rotation. It's so unfortunate that we've got 4 of our all our strikers.
We've got all these injuries and they're all in the same area of the pitch.
Yeah, but we're still 3 light, Dave, on a good squad.
I agree. I completely agree. We know that Nathan would have gone out on loan, as I said earlier, if they'd have managed to bring the striker in. It's a major priority for the summer. I mean, we've been talking about it for ages to get the right person. Obviously, you know, Fabio probably won't play again. I mean, he's playing for Rangers. He's doing all right, but, you know, it's a Scottish league.
Can I just quickly say, though, Dave, all this thing about bottle jobs and that, they didn't bottle it.
No.
They're knackered, Dave. They're knackered. You're putting square pegs in round holes here, Dave. And at the top end of the game, you need round pegs in round holes. It's as simple as that. You can't keep flogging a dead horse, mate.
Boys, can I come in here?
Yeah,
can I
come
come
in
here? Because this is doing my head in. Nothing to do with not having a striker on the pitch while we lost yesterday. We had 7 bloody defenders on that pitch on the 97th minute when we were 2-1 up. We lost our professional approach. Our team were bloody switched off because they thought they'd won it. That's why we lost that game. Nothing to do with Nathan Fraser. We were 2-1 up in the 97th minute, and our team absolutely switched off. They were unprofessional. They didn't do the bloody jobs properly, and they cost us an FA Cup semi-final. That is why we lost yesterday. People like Lamina, who back heels when he should have put his foot through that ball, thinking he's bloody clever because we're only playing Coventry. Our bloody shape was absolutely shocking from the whole game, to be honest. But we lost that game because we conceded 2 damn goals because our team were arrogant and they switched off. They lost their bloody shape and defenders didn't do their jobs. That's why we lost that game yesterday.
Craig, I can see your passion. I don't think we've quite got on to.
Absolutely.
I don't think we've quite got on to the end of the game yet. We're just generally talking about the game as a whole. You have made a very good point about.
We were 2-1 up We were 2-1 up in the 97th minute. I know that Fraser didn't play very well, and the whole team were rubbish at most of the game. But the reason we lost that game is we were unprofessional. We could not see that game out. That was a disgraceful 3 minutes. Absolutely disgraceful.
Liam, do you want to come back in on what Sutty's had to say? And also, obviously, you can see how this is 24 over 20, probably 36 hours on, and Craig's still literally raging. He's not happy. He's not happy.
I love his passion, though. I love his passion, but I think you've also got to look at it. We're at the stage in the season that every game is going to be a graft. I think we saw that with the Fulham game and the Sheffield United game. Every game isn't going to go swimmingly. Like, we beat Chelsea easily away, but every game from now on is going to be a graft. So we've got to look at that because all the players are knackered. I think Lamina, you can see in the past couple of games, he can't run. He's running into the ground every single game. 90th minute, he can barely run back to the halfway line after an attack. So I think looking at all of the players, they're all knackered. They're all really, really knackered because, I think, as everyone said, we don't have good enough depth to compensate for any injuries. But I'd also make the argument that we do have depth. If all of our attack, let's look at it this way. Our attack, we've got about 5 first-team senior attackers in Bellegarde, Cunha, Hwang, Neto, and Sarabia. The fact that all of our injuries have came in the attack, that's when it starts to highlight that we've got bad depth. I don't think we do. I just think we've been very, very unlucky with injuries and in the area of the pitch that they've came in. And again, I think the decision to let Kalajic and Fabio go in January about bringing in a replacement just seems more questionable day by day. And I find it confusing, but I think I've seen some of the messages in the chat. I'm dying to see Noah Lamina come on the pitch. I think yesterday was a perfect opportunity. We had no pace going forwards at all. I think Chirome probably was the fastest alongside Aiden.
Manny talked about Chihuahua and how he did a really good job when he came on, and he had some pace, and that caused problems. And like Sutty was saying, because we didn't have the pace, they weren't scared.
And that's why he needs to bring in Noah Lamina. I mean, he's been banging on about him in his press conferences and the training videos that we've watched. He seems okay. He doesn't seem terrible. And at that point, I just don't see what you lose. Maybe the defensive side of it, but you've got another 10 players behind him that can defend. It's not like you're losing major defensive player there. You're bringing him on for another attacker. It's not like you're losing a Dawson and then you're bringing on an attacker. I think we need to start seeing more of him because you can't judge a player until he's playing in first team. You can't judge him like Fraser. Everyone thought Fraser was all this, and he didn't have a good game yesterday. I do think he has been thrown in the deep end, but you can't judge players until.
In terms of Fraser, no one wants to say he's a young lad.
Yeah,
he gives his all. He did his best. He didn't have the support around him. He was left out to dry. He hasn't got the pace. So you need the pace around him, and we didn't really have that until later on the game. And he went off, 60-odd minutes. He was cream cracker because he did try. So no one can fault him, and he was kind of left. He was very, very exposed. So we don't want to put this into a Nathan Fraser bashing team because he stepped up to, like any one of us would have done. He stepped up to try and do a job, and he's done his best. But he's been at Wolves since the age of 8. We don't want like what happened with Morgan Gibbs White and people start chasing him out the game because of whatever. You know, he's a young lad. He's got a lot to learn. He's done his best. He's part of his development. He'll probably go out on loan next year, and that'll be good for him. But he tried his best, but he didn't have a great game because he hasn't got the pace, but he didn't have the support around him. And
I'd like to make the point about Sarabia as well because I've seen some other messages in the chat about he wasn't playing well yesterday. If you look at how he plays, he's not a Neto, he's not a Cunha, he's not going to pick the ball up at the halfway line, drive through the heart of the team, and then go and score. Is he? He plays off those type of players. He plays off the Cunhas. He plays off the Netos. He's not that outlet that you're going to look at and think he's going to change this game. He's a really good technical player. And when he doesn't have those players around him, he's obviously not going to perform. We're asking him to do a job that he clearly can't do. It's not in his style. He's not quick enough. He hasn't got the technical ability to do that. So when you're playing him next to Fraser and Lamina, etc., you're not going to get the best out of Sarabi because they're not the type of players that he can play off.
Nathan, I want to bring you in at this point because you've listened to what everyone's had to say. Sutty's made some great comments. Craig's made some really good comments, very, very passionately. Very, very articulate there from Liam. Taking all of that you've just heard, what's your contribution and what points would you like to make?
I mean, it's difficult to add much new to the conversation from what we've heard today, but what I'd probably pick up on, and Sutty made this point about square pegs, round holes. I think because the team at the moment is so wafer thin in terms of quality, and the players we're forced to bring in. Fraser is a victim of circumstance at the moment. We don't want to see Fraser chucked in, just like we didn't want Silver to be chucked into the deep end this early. They're a little bit out of the depth, and they've got so much to learn in the game. It could take another 2 or 3 years before we see the best out of Fraser. But I think we're kind of focusing on the wrong areas. I think the problem yesterday was this square pegs, round holes, players asked to do. And Lamina, I think Sutty and Craig particular picked up on Lamina. He's asked to do so many different roles within a game, and he's running himself into the ground. And he's not a winger, he's a central holding midfielder, and he's a fantastic player, and he's been wonderful for us this season. But to thrust him into a front three with, Sarabia and Fraser, it was always a recipe for disaster. And, as I said, hats off to Coventry yesterday. I thought they were fantastic. We should be never letting 23, 24 shots on goal at home. Their crossing was sublime at times, but I think the lack of Dawson and, the two central defenders had pretty awful games. They were two of the worst players on the pitch, I think, and that really didn't help our cause. So it's coming back to bite us now. FFP in the summer, the fact we had to sell all the crown jewels and we're left with this really thin squad with so much youth on the bench. People always say, "Oh, chuck the kids on, they'll be fine," but they're not. They always have so much to learn. And yesterday, I think, was the culmination of a few poor performances recently, in Newcastle in particular, where, I can't remember where Sutty or Craig mentioned it, the players look spent, they look absolutely knackered. And I think this 2-week break is just what we need. We can recharge, hopefully get Kuna back in the side. We shouldn't forget, I think back in 2019 when we went out in the FA Cup semis, we still made Europe. We still made 7th. And I think back then, one of the reasons we lost that game against Watford was lack of depth off the bench. And 6 years on, we're still talking about the same problems. But I think yesterday was just a victim of circumstance. We just got so many players, as Liam said, so many players playing in the same position, all out at the same time. We just let them play so far forward because we had no pace to sort of defend from the front. So it was disappointing. And, I think everybody thought when we got Coventry as the draw, that was the plum draw of the top of the round.
It was the plum draw. But you have to say, Coventry, as I mentioned earlier, came to the party, with a game plan. They came with no fear because they had nothing to lose. They had absolutely nothing to lose as a team. So they could have a go. And if they lose, which at one point we thought they were going to do, that something like Manny said, some of the Coventry fans had left. They'd still come over to their fans. Their fans would have said, "Blooming hell, you give it a good go, well done," and they would have deserved it. And we'd have been coming out going, "Do you know what? We were lucky. We got away with that. Let's get some of our players back." But we got through, and we showed the quality. That second goal that we scored was the one bit of Premier League quality we showed all game. It was fantastic. And that was down to Aït-Nouri playing further forward, running with the ball. And we had 4 players surging forward into the box, making the runs. And Aït-Nouri had the quality to make that ball to Hugo Bueno. And he's also a wing back, and he finished it. And I think Gary O'Neill referenced, because, we had, Hugo Bueno, Aït-Nouri, wing backs, defenders, they were like in the box, and it cost us at the other end. Sutty, I want to come back to you because a few people have pulled you up talking about Santiago Bueno, because you have championed him as being, better than Dawson. Dawson was out yesterday with, obviously with the groin, and they're saying he had a very, very poor game and he was bullied. He had chances to clear for that second goal. He didn't. What's your take?
Well, I don't, as I've always said to you, Dave, I can only go on how he's played in the previous games, and he's been outstanding. Nobody was any good yesterday, Dave. I'll just pick him out. Okay?
No, I'm just because people are.
No, I'm telling. This isn't aimed at you. This is to everybody. I'll just pick him out. He isn't the problem. When we're a team and we are fully prepared as a team with a full team, we defend from the front. We close down fast. We harass. We get into centre halves. We go at full backs. We close them down fast, and we force them into making mistakes. We can't do that, Dave. As soon as we had the ball back, got the ball back. Yes, we played it up top. We lost it. It's straight back. Okay. Now, the easiest part of the game, any professional footballer will tell you, Dave, is defending. That's the easiest part of the game. So if you're not defending as a unit, everything will break down, Dave. Everything. Santiago Bueno will be a very good player for us. But like in any team sport, as I've said so many times on here, Dave, I've lost count how many times I've said it on here. If you have 3 players that don't perform, you will lose. Now, I can count yesterday. Saar performed. He kept us in the game.
Oh, he did. He did.
He's our man of the match. Make no mistake about that. And 8 Norrie. So you've got 9 players of 5 and less yesterday. So as a team collective, you have been very, very poor.
Do you point any of the blame on that though? Although, Gary O'Neill's done a great job. Do you believe that this was Nuno made a mistake in the semi-final for me? And we all love Nuno when he took off our creative players and we sat back and we gave that, they scored. Do you point to any of the blame in how Gary O'Neill set us up? Because he was asking Lamina to play further forward, so we lost him out the midfield. We talked about, Ryan Ait-Nouri. We could see it before the game, play him further up, so we've got the pace. I think someone else has mentioned about Chihuahua, about how he got the pace. That would have given the Coventry a lot more to think about. They wouldn't have expected it probably, and they wouldn't have been so gung-ho going forward.
Well, they wouldn't have been. Think about our biggest outlet over the last 4 or 5 seasons, Dave. And he only used to play 15 minutes a game in general. And you get off the bench and the crowd would lift. I personally thought he was bang average. He'd been more at home in the Olympics than he was playing football. There's a lot of people love him. I didn't, because he wasn't good enough. That's the simple fact. If he was that good, Dave, he'd be playing week in, week out for Fulham. But what it did, it frightened the living daylights out of people, Dave, because if he did play one of his games where he had an outlet and he put decent balls in, after these long, mazy, quick runs, it is petrifying to a defending side. We didn't have that yesterday, Dave. If he'd have played Ait-Nouri further up, put Bueno in at the back, maybe that would have been a little bit different. Maybe that would have been your outlet. But even so, we're so depleted, Dave, across your front line. Tarabia's not fast. Young Fraser, I reckon at 54 years of age, over 100 metres, he wouldn't finish any further than 5 or 6 metres in front of me. And I ain't quick. I've never been quick. So if you don't frighten people with pace, what they do is they step up 10, 15 metres and they will let that risk happen. If you get through, they'll catch you. You see, we say there's a massive gulf in the Championship, League One, League Two. If you're a professional footballer in League Two, and I pluck you out of that League Two side and put you in a good Premier League side with good players around you, you will perform. The trouble with Wolves at the moment is depth. And if you're taking 4 or 5 of your first 11 out and you've got no depth that's slightly better on the bench, because let's be honest, We've got nothing that's slightly better on the bench. It's miles different. It's nowhere near the levels that you need to compete. And that's what's letting us down. We don't defend as a unit because as soon as it goes forward, we lose it. We're under the cosh again. It's only going to be a matter of time, Dave, before you start, especially when you're tired as well. You are going to concede. That's the reality of it, Dave. We've got to look at how we're investing in this side this summer. Somebody's going to have to go to bring 2 or 3 in that makes us a better overall team. We can't just, Kilman was shite yesterday. Who's calling Kilman out? He was awful, Dave, yesterday. Truly awful. Santiago Bueno were much better. You could name 8 or 9 of them. Now, I'm not saying they bottled it, Dave. They were just really poor. They're really poor. Sometimes
you're asking a lot of players were playing out of position.
Well, yeah, and sometimes you try even harder when you're playing poor, and it's almost like you're running in treacle. You just can't get anywhere. Sometimes it happens. I'm not defending them, Dave. That is the best chance that we'll ever have of getting to semi-final. It will never be better than that. And we've blown our lines. We've fluffed our lines massively, Dave. There's no excuses for it. They should still have got through that game.
Here comes Craig. Someone has just said, let the Craig loose.
Yeah,
go on, mate.
Who was playing out of position yesterday that hasn't played there a few games this season, apart from that he pushed Lamina up. And by the way, the first error for me was gone. Gary O'Neill was poor yesterday. His whole preparation of the side and the tactics from the first minute, we did this bloody tippy-tappy football round the back of the that was cup football. You knew that Coventry were going to go gung-ho, and we sat there thinking how superior we are. Look at us, how we knock it round. Aren't we great? Well, no, we're not great. The second thing is they closed us down, and they'd done their homework. Robbins out-thought gone yesterday. I was sitting on the halfway line in row Z of the Billy Wright, and I could see it all unfold. And you could see that Robbins had done his homework. We turned up for that game. We weren't mentally prepared. Coventry came for a battle. We came for a walkover. Sticking Fraser, who, by the way, he had a terrible game, but I felt so sorry for him. When we had the ball, there got to have been 20 yards between Fraser and the next Wolves player.
This is what I was saying. He was left very exposed, wasn't he?
He was isolated. He never stood a chance. We murdered that kid yesterday, as bad a game as he had, because we played with 10 men, because our tactics were absolutely wrong. I'm going to ask again, who apart from Fraser, being brand new, who played out of their normal positions yesterday? Who played out of their normal positions?
I'm not saying to start. What I'm saying is, when we're bringing players on to change a game, we're putting round pegs in square holes. We don't have the depth to bring players on, Craig, where we've got decent. We haven't got quality on the bench.
I agree, but I'm on about the starting 11.
I wasn't on about the Fraser. I wasn't on about the starting 11.
I am. And then we got out of jail because I turned around to this bloke. I said, hey, we're 2-1 up here. I will never know in a million years. Cov must be as sick as pigs. They absolutely battered us. And then we do and this is why I'm so cross. Yeah, we were useless yesterday. We were awful. And there's a lot of reasons for that. We may well have been fatigued for all the reasons that you and many other people have said. That we've relied on the same players far too long. However, if those players, being professional footballers, cannot close a game out, being Premiership players, with 3 minutes to go and 7 defenders on that pitch, they can't close a game out. We don't stand a chance. And I've been saying for 12 months, guys, and you know I have, we need 2 new centre-halves at our club, never mind a striker, because Kilman, Santi Bueno ain't good enough, and Dawson's getting old. And I've been saying it for 12 months, and everybody's been raving about a striker. I'll make my point again. We were 2-1 up in the 97th minute, and we let 2 goals in 3 minutes. That is nothing to do with people being out of position. We had 7 defenders on there. We just lost our heads. We were unprofessional. Those players want shooting for that last 3 minutes.
Craig, I've got to say, that's the bit that really annoys me too, is how we managed to get in front and then squander it at the end.
Dave, we didn't deserve it. I agree.
If we had a won, as I said, we would have come out going, we were very lucky. We wouldn't have deserved it.
But we got 2-1 up, didn't we? And quality.
That's what I'm saying. I'm annoyed as well, the fact that we let it go so late.
Yeah, quality players who keep their heads, you reshape. We did it against Man United. We lost our heads. We lost our shape. And that is down to players. Our centre halves, Kilman. I don't know why they're raving about Kilman. That guy gets caught out of position so many times. And the one Achilles heel that he's got that's worst of anything is a ball over the top of him. When you put a ball over the top of him, he gets caught every time. So our centre halves are not good enough. Semedo's playing out of his skin. Nuri and Bueno, they're playing great. It's in the middle, and those players got walked over by championship players. I am absolutely fuming, as you can probably tell.
Yeah, and that's the bit that really if you've watched my match vlog, you can see the emotion. How I didn't know where we were going to get a goal from, and then we got gifted one where it was a good finish from Ryan Nuri, and then all of a sudden we clicked and we scored a great second goal, which was for me was the one bit of Premier League quality we showed. And at that point, we managed to manage Brighton for 93 minutes with hardly giving a sniff, and then we only had 10 minutes to manage the game, and then somehow they've got 2 on the back post for the second, the equaliser. And there's one of our, I'm not sure who it is. He's watching him. All he needs to do is be goal side. He deals with it. And we had 2 chances to clear it. And then the third goal, the guy's left completely exposed.
How many chances did we let up on that back post through the game? I mean, that one Coventry player who missed that chance with about 17 minutes. He literally got a side foot into an empty net. The same ball caught us out every single time. Our centre halves were woeful yesterday, and when we've lost 4-0 and 5, they've been the problem, the centre halves, which is why I've been saying you get 2 brand new centre halves in of real quality, because we ain't got them at the moment. But our game management yesterday, including our manager, was absolutely atrocious.
Craig, I'm going to come to Liam and Nathan in just a second. I just want to ask you: do you still think Wolves are finishing top 7? Because you've said it all year long.
Without the injuries, Dave, yeah, but who'd have thought we'd have had 4 of our starting strikers out at the same time, and that then, no, Dave, to be fair, goes totally and utterly in support of what Sutty and everybody else are saying. But I'm saying yesterday, the lack of our strikers wasn't the reason we lost that game. Yes, our strikers being out are going to hurt us going forward, but that wasn't the reason we lost that game yesterday. We lost that game because we were totally and utterly unprofessional. Not even a non-league side would have done what we did yesterday. We were unprofessional. I'd have belted them all if they'd have come in the dressing room yesterday, because that was just disgraceful.
Would you have been throwing teacups?
Worse than that, mate. There'd have been a David Beckham stitches going around.
Right, we're going to come back in a second. Liam and Nathan, I know you've waited really patiently. It's good to get everyone a chance to really say. Liam, I want you to come in again on your thoughts of, again, everything you heard just, and add a little bit more context to what Craig says. Craig's obviously very, very passionate. Sutty's been quite measured, to be honest. And I know Sutty will be really, really hurting inside because he really wants us to win a pot. And this was a really good opportunity. I mean, I was like, there was literally everyone who watches this channel knows how much the FA Cup means to me and my dad, who's 87 next Saturday, actually, and how he desperately wants to go to an FA Cup final and sing Abide With Me. And like, you know, it means every time I'm not going to be frightened to say I had tears coming down my eyes at the end of that game. Because of how much I love my dad and how much I want to make that happen. And my dad said in the reaction, those of you that said it, he went, just get it done before he's 90. So he's given 3 years, basically, to get to the FA Cup final. So still got time. Liam, you've got lots of time. But come back on everything that add a little bit more context.
Yeah, I think we've got a very emotional group, and we see it a lot when we're winning. Going into the last couple of minutes of the game, we usually concede. I think we had it with Chelsea 2-0 up, and then we conceded. We're very lucky that Doc scored there, because if he didn't, obviously,
Fulham, we conceded right at the end. Man United, when we got back into it, we were very, very similar to this game, naive and
it's not even that. It's not even like some of these goals that we concede in the last minute. They don't really matter because we're 3-0, 2-0 up. It doesn't really matter that we conceding, but we've got a very emotional group, and I feel like as a group they look up at the time, see 94th minute, and they might think, oh, it's over, just a couple more minutes, and they're gonna be hearing the fans chant about, oh, we're going to Wembley. And again, it's a very emotional group, so they're already thinking they're already at Wembley. That's what they're thinking. So they're very complacent when it comes to the last couple of minutes of the game, and I think that comes with time because you look at the team; it's very, very young. It's a very young squad. I think we're up there with one of the youngest average age in the Prem. I'm not too sure, but I think we're up there definitely. So yeah, it's a very emotional group, and I think that's bad when it comes to when you need to be when you need to manage a game and you need to see a game out going into the last couple of minutes. It's bad when you have an emotional group. So I think like Craig said, the game management wasn't there, and it was terrible, really, game management wise. And I'd also like to follow up on another point you made about the centre backs. I think we're very lucky that some of the teams in the Premier League have just stick to one style of football, because I think we saw it with Brighton start the season. All they had to do was lob a ball over Dawson and Kilman, and they were in, and they did it 3 times at the start of that second half, and they scored all 3.
That was the early season when we lost 4-0.
Yeah, I think the only centre back I can think of who can deal with a ball over the top is Totti, and he's playing on the left side. That doesn't compensate for the other side of the pitch. So again, I do feel like we do need more at least a couple centre backs with a bit more pace about them, because we're going into a new era of football where pace is the most important part of your game. And I think everyone's been saying about Fraser, if you don't have pace, then you won't make it in the Prem. So we need centre backs who can deal with the ball over the top. I think that's our biggest weakness, personally.
As again, some really great points, Nathan. This final bit on this before we go to the man of the matches and all that sort of stuff. I think Craig's been refueling.
Yeah, I was mesmerised by Craig's refueling there. Well done, Craig.
Sorry about that, boys.
That's right, mate.
Right, you thought you got that upset. You'd gone.
Oh no!
If you're listening to the podcast, Craig left the vehicle.
No, now he's on mute. Yeah. Just another couple of points. I think tactically, I think Sutty and Craig mentioned. I think O'Neill got it wrong yesterday in terms of the subs. I know we haven't got much to call on, but I think taking Doyle off early seemed strange, because Doyle was at times dictating play. He was passing it about nicely. I thought that's a strange sub. Now it came off with obviously Bueno scoring, but I still thought that was odd. And not to see Traore, I thought we were losing the battle in the middle. And I thought Traore coming on might have made a bit of a difference.
Yeah. Did we not have another sub at the end? Because I was saying when we were winning, we should have brought him on, because he would have.
Absolutely, Liam.
Did we not have a sub?
Who did he bring on? Who did he bring on? He bought on Hugo Bueno. He bought on Chihuahua. Or Chihuahua, I can't remember.
That was only 2 intervals, wasn't it? That was only 2 intervals. He had another
and
one.
then he bought on. Yeah, well, sure, we had another sub left.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm back.
Yeah, I was flabbergasted by that. I can't really understand why we didn't see Troy. You know, of all the professionals who've got on the bench, you know, at least he is a senior, and he's not an academy player. That I found was odd. You know, we've been through it all tonight, but I think one of the big mistakes for me, I know Craig said it wasn't about the front three, but I think it was about the front three, because we defend better when we've got that pace up top and we can stop the ball coming through. We played so far back that they were just getting balls behind us. And then, as I've said, you know, give Coventry credit. Their crossing was superb, and I thought Sims on the day was excellent. You know, he missed that side foot chance, but then came back with 2 goals and an assist. And I think they were just hungry on the day, and we didn't seem to be at it. We didn't seem to want it. Whether it was we get back, you know, we can make excuses about the team being knackered and we're rinsing them because we're playing the same team week in, week out. But at the end of the day, it was a pathetic performance, and especially, you know, as Craig back, I echo Craig's sentiments on, you know, I am a Kilman fan. I like Kilman. I think he's a decent player, but I think yesterday he was woeful, and he was probably the worst player on the pitch. Bueno wasn't far behind at times. I don't think they won a single header. That was the ball played to the two front men. I don't think they won a single challenge, and I've not seen that all season, to be honest. So, yeah, it was a day to forget. And as you said, Dave, I sit with a couple of lads next to me who are a little bit older. You know, one's in their late 70s, another's 80. How many opportunities are they going to get for Wembley? You know, and we thought yesterday was one of those big opportunities. We were already planning the day. You know, I remember just quickly. I remember the last time we obviously played Watford. It was 2-0 up, and I was just about to turn to my brother and say, "Should we sit here for the final?" And then it went tits up. So yeah, yesterday was like I said, day to forget. We move on, and I think Villa being 2 weeks away is a blessing, because we get to, you know, recuperate and hopefully bring in some players back. But I think, yeah, the worst performance of the season yesterday by a country mile.
Yeah, and it's just the Wolves' way, isn't it? It's like we saw that we had the ecstasy of the 2 injury goals against Tottenham when we played really well that day, and we were on top and we deserved it. And we've had the real low points of the Man United game, conceding so late. Of yesterday, the bit that really got to me, I would rather have lost 1-0 than lose like we did after coming back and going 2-1 up, because someone said it's the hope that kills you. When we came back to being 2-1 up after everything had happened, and I was staying through the game, Sarr literally kept us in the match and made save after save. And when you've still got a platform at 1-0 down, you've still got a chance. We took our chance, we took the lead, and then we're a Premier League team. We should be able to manage that game out. And we not only did we concede an equaliser, we then didn't even get to go to extra time, that's the bit that really gripes me. It's like only Wolves can do this. It's just only us can get within 60 seconds of a FA Cup final or 10 minutes. It was 10 minutes again, wasn't it? And then lose it. And only us can get so close after coming from behind and then lose it again. It's just, when will we be able to take the next steps? I know we had injuries and stuff like that, but it's still absolutely heartbreaking for so many reasons. And the Coventry fans, they're in dreamland. I've got to say, the Coventry fans, you have to feel for them because of what's happened to them over the last 7 years and the depths of despair that they've gone through as fans, losing their ground, going down to League Two, and you know they've got this bit of joy back for them, and hopefully they'll, you know, they lost on penalties to Luton in the playoff final last year, so they know what it feels like. The one thing that I'm hoping from this young set of players, and from Gary O'Neill, because it is a separate squad, it's a brand new squad to the Nuno squad, is what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and they will hopefully grow from this experience, you know, learn from it, and be stronger with hopefully reinforcements. Like what Sutty said, we might lose a star player or two, but the squad will be strong because there is a team spirit in this team. They have fought for us. They have fought for themselves. They've given everything, and that's why I don't think they were la-di-da yesterday or anything like that. They just were exposed, and they had a bad day at the office. And Coventry went for us as a dangerous animal, and we got what we deserved. But I hope really that they come back stronger, and next time they can go the next step, because we as fans we're not going to win the Premier League unlikely. We can win the Carabao Cup, and we can win the FA Cup. Coventry had a very, very nice draw up into us. They had a real easy route to the quarterfinals, but on the day they showed up and 24 shots. We've got to learn from this experience, and if they take it, bottle it, and grow from it, then it's better. Then hopefully we'll come back stronger. Go on, Craig.
I was just saying, there is no way that this team doesn't give us everything every game. However, that's different to being mentally strong. And we struggle against any team, right, that either closes us down or is seen as an inferior team to us. We struggle against those teams every time we play them, and that is a mental issue. We don't move the ball quick enough. We tend to slow it down. It's almost an arrogance, as though, we don't need to move the ball at pace. Because if you move the ball slowly against Man City, against Spurs, against Chelsea, against Arsenal, we know that those teams will kill you. They'll murder you. And yet lower teams, the Burnleys, the Lutons, we just saunter about. And we did it yesterday. And I turned around to the guy next to me. After 5 minutes, I said, we're in trouble today. And he said, why? I said, we're playing this slow, tippy-tappy football that has got no pace to it, no injection, no...
Craig, we didn't have pace on the pitch. We had no pace.
We had more pace than we showed, Dave. We had more pace than we showed. We were slow mentally, and we woke up for 10 minutes and murdered them for 10 minutes, went 2-1 up, and then we switched off again.
And you're right. You're right with that. But we didn't. What part of the thing that we've been talking about? Sutty's been talking about, Liam, Nathan's touched on it as well. Because we didn't have that pace, Coventry weren't frightened of the pace that we had. So they could afford to go forward.
Dave, I'm not on about raw pace. I'm on about moving the ball at pace. And there's a totally different thing. We saunter about. We just mess it about. We walk about. And then wonder why lesser teams beat us. And that's what happened yesterday. The ball was not pinned about. We were not moving into space. We weren't looking for the gaps. I'm not talking about...
I agree to a point with that. And to be honest, this is Wolves' big Achilles heels. And I've said on this channel that if we're going to be a top 7, top 6 side, this is the level that we've got to go up. We've got to be able to. It's all right beating Tottenham twice, Chelsea twice, City, and all of these teams that sit. We've got to be able to break teams down and have that. Have we got that in the squad? Probably not. Has Gary O'Neill had enough coaching time? Has he had a pre-season? Has he got his own team? You've got to give him, the manager, the chance to do what he needs to do in the summer, have a proper pre-season, and then we'll see next season. Because if we want to go to the next level, we've got to be able to do that. We need to finish off anyway, guys, because it is coming up to 2 hours and the second part of the show. So, Sutty, Lee Moore Windows Man of the Match, Fox at Shipley performance rating, your highlight or moment of the day.
So, our man of the match, I can't give it any more than a 4. They were that bad, Dave.
Okay.
Really poor. And my moment of the day, Dave, was getting away from that place as quick as I possibly could.
At the end of the game?
Yep.
Liam?
I'd say the rating would be 5. I would give it a 4. That in that 10-minute period probably knocks it up a point for me personally. For man of the match, I'd probably say Well, I'd probably say 8-0, but I'd give a strong shout out to Saar because Saar obviously kept us in the game, but I think 8-0 was different class. I put a tweet up about it the other day. I'd be very surprised if a big club don't come in for 8-0 this summer. We're all talking about Neto. We don't want to lose Neto.
Well, I think this is why Sutty is sell Neto, or Neto. I think that's why 8-0 is not in there because I think Sutty highly rates him, and I think he feels that he's more important to the team than Neto.
I think when 8-0 has been injured this season, we've lacked that bit of quality down that left hand side. So I think it's very important that we keep him going into next season. But like I said, I'd be very surprised if a big club like Man City, even United, don't come in and put some big money for him. So I would go 8-0 for the man of the match. And for moment of the day, I had McDonald's after, and that was probably the best McDonald's I had in a while. So
I had a really nice Mackies. What was it, mate?
It was just a cheeseburger and chips. Kept it simple, but it was 10 times better in the game. So I'd probably say the food I had after was.
Liam. I'm loving that. I'm loving that. Nathan, let's go to you next.
Yeah, I think I agree with Sutty on Saar. Sounds like a kids' TV show. Saar, I think Saar and 8-0 are the only players who would get over 5. I think. In terms of ratings on the day, I'd give them I'm struggling to give them a 3. I think they were that woeful. That's the worst I've seen them all season. So, yeah, I'll go with 3. And I think, like Liam, my lunch was ciabatta with some pastrami and rocket with a bit of American mustard. That was really top notch. That was the highlight for me. I think eating that at half time was about the best it got. So, there you
Loving
go.
it. Craig. For you, right? Let's see. We can just about see you. Still, hopefully, you're not far from home now.
No. I'm nearly home now. To 2 for me. Saar, man of the match, but Eamon, Ryan Out-Nouri with a standout. The rest were just woeful. And my highlight of the day, me being a bit older than most of you guys, we've seen Kenny a bit and Willie Carr in the upper Billy Wright. They were my childhood heroes. I watched Kenny score that goal against Man City at Wembley in 1974, and it was a bit of a shock seeing them because they're obviously getting on now. Willie Carr is on sticks, so they look really old, which was a bit of a shock to me because of me being only 21 and whatever. But it was just great seeing such legends at Molineux, and they'd have been disappointed with that yesterday without any doubt.
Fantastic. And just to finish on, I want to finish on a high tonight. We're not doing the quiz. It is basically your first game, if you can remember it, and the best game that you can remember. A real high and a real positive to try and finish on. Go on, Sutty. You can go first on this one.
First game, 77-78 at home to Bolton Wanderers. Young lad stood on a beer crate in the old Molineux Road stand, the one where the roof went like that. John Ireland and Steve Bull. So if you think the Steve Bull stand's terrible, you should have gone in the Molineux Road.
Yeah.
It was awful. But that was my first game. Best game for atmosphere. I've got quite a lot that were shite, but I've got a few that were good. And so I'm going to go for a really recent one, because in that game, we were absolutely dire for 82 minutes. And then we beat the Villa 3-2.
Oh, man. Yeah.
And it was just, if you were in that away end.
I was, mate.
And I was.
Yeah.
A bloke in front of me broke his ankle, and everybody's jumping up and down on him. And he's shouting, have we scored? Have we scored? Yes, we won, mate. He was cheering on the floor that we'd scored and got the winner. So, but there's quite a few, obviously, playoff finals and stuff like that. But that, just for the drama of it all and who it was against, was just priceless.
Strangely enough, we've got them next.
I know.
We've got them next.
They're a different animal now, though, Dave.
Yeah, mate. They keep trying to beat us, though. Somehow, so far, we seem to be a bit of a bogey side for Villa, but let's hope that continues. Liam, you probably haven't got so far to go back of being 17.
Yeah. I think the first one I can remember was in 2012. I was a mascot in the pre-season. I think it was against his Spanish team. I don't know the exact name. It was Real something. It was a Spanish team, and I was mascot. That's probably
either Real Betis or Villarreal, but I don't think it's Real Madrid, so it must have been one of the other two.
No, it wasn't Real Madrid. I think I would have remembered that if it was.
Villarreal or Real Betis.
Yeah, I've got no clue. I've got absolutely no clue. All I know is they wear a white kit and they're the Spanish team. So, and the best moment, I'd probably say, there's a couple to be fair. I think City, the 3-2 City's up there, but I think going back a bit as well, Rotherham in League One, 6-4.
Oh, mate,
that
was a game. That
was mayhem.
There was 4 goals in added time or something like that. It was crazy.
It's Real Sociedad. They've put it in the chat. Real Sociedad.
There you go. Yeah,
it was them. I think it was them. I might be wrong. I think it's them. Anyway, yeah. It's, Rotherham 6-4. I can remember it was really weird. I can remember leaving early for some reason because obviously I didn't really understand. I can remember leaving early and there's people walking down the car park. I didn't know the score. All I heard was loads and loads of cheering. And I couldn't really make out what the score was. So I remember asking this guy, "Oh, what's the score? What's the score?" And he goes, 6-4. So I was really confused at that time. But I enjoyed that game. That game was probably my favourite one of my lifetime, really. And I haven't had much Wolves games, so
fair enough. Nathan?
Yeah, I was a bit, despite only being 21, I was a bit late to the game. So I think my first game was Ipswich 1990 or 91 at home. And I went in the wrong end. I went in the old South Bank, but I went in the Ipswich end. And then the steward made me pay again just to stand on the other side of the fence, which was good of him. I think we lost that game 1-0. And then I think my favourite game, simply because it's my favourite ever goal, is Stockport away. Mark Kennedy with a volley. Just an absolute. If you look it up on YouTube, it's just one of the greatest goals I think we've ever scored. Absolutely sublime. Not quite as good as the Neves.
Mark Kennedy,
he really did. Yeah, not quite up there with the Neves, but my favourite away goal without a shadow of a doubt. Was there a third part to that, Dave? Sorry, my old brain can't.
No. First game, favourite.
Yeah, I'd say that then.
And Craig, finally to you as you nearly get home.
Yeah,
you look like something out. You look like at the moment. You look like out of police academy. You know, when the
okay. 1973 Leeds United. We used to have some absolute belting games. Always very close as well. 1-0, 2-1. Horrible side to play. Billy Bremner, Reaney, all of those people. Norman Hunter. My favourite game, I mean, I've had a few, but one that I loved was Albion away. You know that we've just broke this duck. Well, I was there in the away end when Ewan Roberts scored his hat-trick, and we were going absolutely bombing. The Albion fans hated it, which made it all the more fun. So it was 4-2. Wolves win away at Albion in the Albion end.
Absolutely brilliant. Now, guys, I did want to finish on a little bit of a high. Thank you again to Creation Walk for powering the show. Obviously, in regards to the sofa score, it's in the link. It's free. It's a brilliant app. You won't regret getting it. You don't have to register, and there's a QR code on there as well. I did want to finish on a little bit of a high because, like all of us, you love your team. You dream of getting to Wembley. You dream of things like getting to an FA Cup final, and when you're hot favourites to progress, and then you don't, and we played like we did, and it finished like it is. It's hard for all of us. It's just so difficult to think we've got to wait another year for this opportunity to try yet again, and it's disappointing. But the one thing I will say, here we are talking about getting knocked out in an FA Cup quarter-final. We're 10th place in the Premier League. At the start of the season, everyone was thinking, are we even going to, a lot of people thinking, are we even going to be in the division come the end of the season? We're going to be in a relegation scrap. So the fact that we can feel the pain of having a cup run and going out in the quarterfinal, and we're not worrying about relegation. We have to take some positives out the season. Gary O'Neill has done a good job. We're where we are. How the end of the season will pan out, where we will finish, we will wait and see. How he's going to cope, we will see. It's 2 weeks, the next one. But I just want to say, think back to the summer. Think how everything was in disarray, how everyone was divided. And now we've got a team that, we went out, we're upset, we're gutted, we're angry, but they are together and they are playing for the fans, and the fan base are a bit more united. So, that's my positive end. And I just hope the season doesn't peter out and we keep, going there, and we can go and take on Aston Villa in the next one. And, let's cause them a little bit of pain. Let's cause them a little bit of pain by doing Tottenham Hotspur a favour and seeing whether we can drag them out to the Champions League. That would be kind of a nice little one. Final thoughts from everyone. One little sentence, Sooty.
I don't really think there's any positives we can take out of that, Dave, and let's just pray that we get some players back, because if we don't, I don't see us keeping Villa out of a Champions League spot, unfortunately. Sorry, Dave.
No, that's fair enough. Liam?
I'd say keep the faith, to be honest. I think we've had such a good season from everyone's expectations at the start of the season. It's exceeded them and by a mile. So I'd say keep the faith. We've got 2 weeks now for international break. Hopefully Cunha comes back, and I think he's probably massively important. So if he comes back by Villa, I think we'll be okay. And come the summer, hopefully we have a good transfer window. Gary O'Neill has a pre-season with his team, so hopefully next season will be even better than this one. I think we'd be lucky if we had that, but yeah, I'd say just keep the faith, really.
Nathan?
Well, as Sooty said, I think you've got to look at Villa, and they're going to be a tough, tall order to beat. But we've gone into games this season with low expectations and put in some tremendous performances. Yesterday wasn't one of them, but some of the games this season, Spurs, Chelsea, have been tremendous. So I think that's what we need to remember, that there is a good team in there. Yesterday didn't show that. And as Liam said, we go into the summer. Don't get arrested.
It is Police Academy.
It really is. We go into the summer with an FFP reset, and hopefully that means we can, clear the decks a little bit and bring in some more quality. Because, I wouldn't be shedding many tears if Neto disappeared. I think you just get tired of the same old with the injuries. And when Adama went, I was happy Adama went, to be honest. Again, he flatters to deceive. I've never really been an Adama fan, so we didn't lose much in the summer in terms of quality, apart from Neves. We can go again this summer, and I think we can really make this team even stronger and go again next season. But as you said, Dave, we had really low expectations beginning of the season. We were all fearing the worst, a relegation battle. Luckily, there's 3 awful teams down there, but we haven't needed that. We haven't needed that lack of quality. We've kind of proven that we're a good side, and I think Europe might be a step too far. But even if it's mid-table this season, I think that is a tremendous result, and hats off to O'Neill for that.
Craig?
Yeah, these guys have been amazing this season, which is what makes yesterday even more sort of upsetting. We couldn't have asked any more of them, certainly in the league. It just is incredibly disappointing that they couldn't concentrate until the final whistle. If they've learned from that and they realise the pain of that, and that keeps them focused through a whole game, right till the last kick, all well and good, we'll have learned. So onwards and upwards, it's over now. I've had my rant, wondrous through and through, wondrous till I draw my last breath, and I'll still be there. So get going.
Fantastic. That sums it up. Listen, we've had well over 600 watching virtually in the entire show, which is absolutely amazing. Thank you ever so much for your support wherever you're watching in the world. It's much appreciated. Obviously, a load more of you will watch it off on catch up. It'll go out onto podcast as a 2-parter. Part 1 will be tomorrow, and part 2 will be the day after. So if you want to listen to it back in the car or when you're running, or as people do, you can do, but you'll also be able to watch it on catch up. So thank you ever so much for that. If you've subscribed tonight, just to tell you that we have gone on the channel over 33,000, which is crazy to think there are more people subscribed to Always Wolves Fan TV than you can fit in Molyneux, which is mad when you think about it. So thank you for all your support. Thanks to all the guests tonight. They've been absolutely brilliant. It's much appreciated. And this has been your therapy for the game, to get it all out, off our chest, talk it through, put it behind us. Got the internationals come on, and then we'll get on to dealing with Villa in 2 weeks' time, and we'll see what happens. And obviously we'll be talking about that after the game, whatever happens. But thanks for joining us. Hope it's helped a little bit of therapy, because we needed it, and we can move on. From all of us to all of you, wherever you are, always Wolves.